Hello, America. Welcome to the Ben McCoy Show. Glad to have you on board. Got a lot to discuss today. It's going to be a fun show. This may be the one. This may be the one that the government comes after me and shuts it all down, pulls all the plugs, and drags away all my hard drives and phones and everything else. So buckle up. We're gonna talk about some serious business behind the business of war, is what we're going to discuss primarily today. Mark Twain had an interesting quote. He had a lot of interesting quotes actually, but I love this one. Those who do not look at the news are uninformed, and those who do look at the news are misinformed. Mr. Twain had a very good way of putting things into focus for us. Well, it appears that COVID is suddenly dead, if you haven't noticed. All eyes are on the Russia-Ukraine situation, and there's no more COVID. So we could thank Putin for that, at least. He killed COVID for us. The masks are gone. The vaccine mandates are gone all of a sudden. I mean, it was so suddenly. It's just amazing the way that happens. Whatever the media's focused on, it seems like that's what we're all focused on. Man, it's incredible. But wow, there's a lot. There's so much going on right now, and what is real and what is not real? That's the question. Is everything we see on the TV, is that really what's happening? Something just doesn't feel right all the time. It's just one thing to the next. It's such drastic coverage of events from here to there to everywhere, and it's being pounded down our throats all the time, 24/7, and we never get a chance to stop and breathe and reflect and digest and ask ourselves, now wait a minute, is that right? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It's just things seem really, really weird right now. And after all of the sanctions, the financial and banking sanctions that we've supposedly levied on Russia that have had absolutely no effect, it seems that the only real thing that we could be doing is to sanction Russian oil. And even Nancy Pelosi and some of the Democrats are on board with that idea right now. Now that's weird. When I'm in a position of agreeing with Nancy Pelosi, then I'm starting to worry, because I want us off of Russian oil anyway. Forget the war and everything that's going on. I want us energy independent as we were under the Trump administration. I think we've got plenty of oil and natural gas right here in America under our feet, and we are just plain stupid to not get it out and use it for our own production and for our own use, and whatever we have left over to sell it to the rest of the world and make a bunch of money and create a bunch of jobs. Forget the whole Ukraine thing right now. I'm in favor of that anyway. So I can solidly say that, yes, I guess I agree with Nancy Pelosi on this issue, because even if you take this Ukraine-Russia thing out of the equation, I'm still in favor of getting off of Russian oil, getting off of Saudi oil and everybody else's oil, whoever we're buying oil from, all of it, and just use American oil. Biden, in his State of the Union address, made this pitch for we're gonna purchase American products, American made. All the steel in the bridges and all this stuff, it's all going to be American made. But not once did he mention American energy. And that's what we do. I mean, that's one of the best things that we do. We have so many resources here, and we're not even tapping into them anymore. So what about American energy? That's where what we should be focused on right now. So I guess I'm in the very unsavory position of agreeing with Nancy Pelosi for once, and it kind of hurts, but at least she got one right. I'll give her credit for that. And there are some other Democrats out there as well that are beating that drum to get us off of Russian oil. So I mean, we need to be off of everybody's oil. So yeah, we'll go with that. Now, there has been a tone shift in the media, if you haven't noticed, towards this. The key word is the no-fly zone that the president of Ukraine has been begging for. It's just strange to me. He's not... Man, look, I know this guy's a folk hero and everything else, But why isn't he begging Europe, especially, to get off of Russian energy? I mean, they consume like 90% of their natural gas comes from Russia. Europe is a big user of natural gas. The way we use oil here, they use natural gas there, and they get it all from Russia. And it just seems like, a no-fly zone is going to perpetuate war. It's going to drag more people into war and create a bigger, more bloody war. Whereas choking off the Russian energy supply seems like it would just end the war. I mean, if you take away Putin's the funding for his war machine, which is oil and natural gas and energy, it seems like he's just going to putter out and have to leave, because I mean, there's nothing there. There's nothing left to purchase all of the fuel and bombs and missiles and tanks and everything he needs to keep pursuing this Ukraine thing. So it just strikes me as odd that every time we see President Zelensky of Ukraine, begging for help, it's always the no-fly zone thing. Give us the no-fly zone. We need a no-fly zone. That's all he talks about, is a no-fly zone. That's all the parliament members of Ukraine talk about, is a no-fly zone. Now you're seeing the shift in the media, the talking heads in the media. Whether, I don't care if it's Fox News, CNN, whatever you're watching in the media, it's all, is this no-fly zone something we should be considering? They always ask it like in this way where it's supposed to burrow itself into your brain and get you going, well, yeah, I think so. I think we should be doing that. And that's what they're starting to do. They're starting to repeat this no-fly zone thing, and that's a bad idea. The no-fly zone is not a good idea. And at least NATO knows that for now, and the Biden administration has said that they're not doing the no-fly zone for now. I'm against war. I don't want us in a war, especially one that does not touch our soil, one that is not our war. I know they're tugging on the heartstrings with the refugees and the women and children and all that, and I feel terrible for these people. And I wish Putin would just back the hell up and go back home and find something else to do at this time. But it's not our war, and it's not our no-fly zone to create, and I don't want us having any part of it. I do want us having plenty of part of not purchasing Russian oil, and I want Europe to get off the Russian natural gas, and I think that's going to solve it, and that's going to save Ukraine, because I don't think he's got any other money coming from anything else that's gonna fuel his war machine. So that's how you end this thing for everybody, and everybody goes home and stop all the bloodshed. A no-fly zone, you create a no-fly zone, you have to man that no-fly zone, you have to enforce it. So what happens when a Russian MiG breaks the no-fly zone? You're just going to say, I guess it didn't work. No, you have to shoot down the MiG. Now you start shooting down Putin's MiGs, then what? You got World War III. We can't do that. We just can't do that. We don't want any more war. We've had enough war. Now, there are plenty of people in our country that run our country that are begging for a war. They want it so bad they can't stand it. We're going to tell you why. Because they get rich. This military-industrial complex is not just a conspiracy theory, something that people mention every now and then. It is so unbelievably real. I just can't even tell you how real, and all the information you could ever want about every bit of it is all right there. It's not hidden. Go on to Google right now. Just go to Google and just start searching for how many of your senators and members of Congress right now have stocks in American defense contractors like Raytheon and BAE and Lockheed Martin, Boeing, all these defense contractors. Just Google search it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Find out how many of them have stock in those companies. It'll blow your mind. Find out how many former senators and congressmen and congresswomen former now serve on those boards of defense contracting companies. Go ahead, look it up yourself. It's all right there, and you would not believe it. It is such an incestuous cesspit. It is crazy, and they have so much invested in war, and the only way these companies make tons of money is if we go to war, because they build missiles and tanks and bombs and bullets, and if there's no war, then there's no reason to build all those tanks and bombs and bullets. Now, we sell a lot of it to foreign countries. And we have lobbying groups that lobby D.C. on behalf of foreign countries and also on behalf of domestic defense contractors. There's plenty of them. Go look it up. I'm going to give you these names. You can double check and search to your heart's content everything I'm going to tell you and find out for yourself that it's true. Because I'm not here to make things up. I want to give you some facts and let you check them out for yourself. I want you to be informed. I want you to go look this up. I want you to get on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and share it with your friends and spread the word, because war is a business. And the people running this country run that business. And I don't care if they're Democrat, Republican, they're all guilty. They're all a part of it. Every single one. I can't say every single one of them. That's not correct. I'm trying to be accurate here. But a lot of them, and the ones with most of the power in Washington. They hold the stocks. They have staffers that serve on boards and back and forth. It's just revolving door between the defense contractor industry and Congress and the lobbying groups on K Street in Washington, D.C. But for instance, let me just give you some of this here. Michael Vickers is a guy who recently wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post urging Biden to go to war with Russia if necessary. Very hawkish, this Putin guy's not going to stop Ukraine. He's going to keep going through to Poland and get in the NATO countries and the Baltic states and all this stuff. And we got to stop him now. Now's the time to step up and stop him before he gets too committed too far into Europe and this becomes a world war. We have to commit our troops here in America. Our kids need to go die on the battlefield right now. We need to get in there and stop him. Basically the thrust of his article. Well, it turns out, and the Washington Post did not disclose this in the op-ed, but Vickers serves on the board of BAE, which is Europe's largest defense contractor. They also have a operation here in America, a very, very big defense contractor. So they make, I don't know what they make exactly, but they're in the defense business. So it's either missiles, bombs, planes, tanks, guns, bullets, all the stuff that goes into the war machine. And they make billions of dollars of it. And they need war in order to get rich. And Vickers serves on that board. He wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post. And of course, the Washington Post didn't disclose that. I mean, it was basically an advertorial, but they didn't disclose it. And it's just stuff like this going on all the time, all around us. It's just constant. Guess who else serves on the board of BAE Systems? Kelly Ayotte, who was the former senator from New Hampshire. And boy, does she have a long list of military defense contracting connections. And she was, of course, a very powerful senator that served on the Armed Services Subcommittee of Readiness and a bunch of other leadership positions in those defense and military committees and subcommittees. And now, in addition to BAE, she serves on the board of News Corp. I mean, you can't make this up. So here she is. She's formerly a senator, a very powerful senator, had lots of connections, lots of power in the levers of defense and military. And now she serves both on the board of a major defense contractor and a company that controls most of the media and news that you consume in America, News Corp. I mean, just think about that for a second. So they're all interconnected. The defense contractors, the war machine, and the news and media that you consume, all of it together. That's why we're getting this concerted message of war. No fly zone. We got to stop him before he gets to Poland. You know, on any average day, Fox News and CNN and MSNBC are all singing a different tune. One's praising the president, one's hating on the president, vice versa. Not when it comes to war. They all start singing from the same sheet of music. It's all war, more war. We need to go to war. And it's because all of these industries are interconnected. They have the same people serving on their boards, owning their stocks, and pulling the strings. And it's not them that are going to go die and bleed on the battlefield. It's not even their children. It's our children. It's us. And they don't give a damn. So, and George Soros, I mean, come on. And Hillary Clinton are both banging the drums for war. And they have some of the funniest tweets lately about standing up against tyranny and for democracy. I mean, come on. Give me a break. These people are disgusting. Guess who else is on the BAE board? Gina Haspel, President Trump's former CIA director. I don't know, just for what that's worth. She knows all the secrets. She knows whether the aliens really landed at Roswell. She directed the CIA, and now she's serving on one of the giant defense contractors boards. Oh, man, I tell you what, it's crazy. Lockheed Martin, that's the largest defense contractor in America. And guess who's not running the whole show, but in a pretty powerful position over there? Jay Johnson, former Secretary, Homeland Security under Barack Obama. He's on the board over there, and it's just a revolving door. I mean, Director of Homeland Security. I mean, that's a big deal. And now he's at our nation's largest defense contractor, Lockheed Martin. So it's no wonder war is such a profitable venture for these people. OpenSecrets.org is a great website. That's where you go find out who's giving money to who in politics in America, where it's coming from, and what it's purchasing with that money. And they have a great article. It actually came out last year, about 1 year ago, February 25th of 2021. So before all this Russia-Ukraine stuff, this article came out called Capitalizing on Conflict by Dan Auble. This is on OpenSecrets.org. I highly encourage you to go check it out. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read you quite a bit of it because you need to hear it. You need to hear it. You need to pass it on and get the word out. We need to be an educated public. We need to know exactly what is going on. This is not just a heartstrings moment where the children and women of Ukraine are dying and we need to step up to the plate and stop Putin. This is about money. It is about money and more money and getting rich. And that is all it's about. And they don't care about anything else. Okay? And it's the people running this country and running Europe and NATO and everything else that are all involved in it. So I'm going to read you some of this. Defense companies spend millions every year lobbying politicians and donating to their campaigns. In the past 2 decades, their extensive network of lobbyists and donors have directed $285 million in campaign contributions and $2.5 billion with a B in lobbying spending to influence defense policy. I mean, just that alone, I don't even need to say anything else. That makes my stomach turn. That makes me sick. These are defense contractors that make weapons of war. They make things to go kill people and blow up people. And that's how much money that they've got invested in our politicians to get their way. I mean, you look at all the war that all the war we've been involved in the past. I don't know, go back as far as you want. Iraq, Afghanistan, everywhere. War, and more war, and our politicians get rich off of it. In 2020, the 5 biggest spenders: Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon Technologies, and General Dynamics. Now, remember those 5 because there are lots of them. There's like 200 defense contractors and companies, but those are the ones that are making all the big waves. It's those 5 that are pulling the strings because they got the big money and the big lobbyists. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon Technologies, and General Dynamics. They spent $60 million altogether, and that's just in 2020, in that election year. 2020, $60 million. Okay, and the Pentagon budget spent on weapons for use by the U.S. military, $740 billion. That's a big pie, folks, and there's a lot of people that want a big slice of it. So arms manufacturers and military support sellers, they have an extensive network of lobbyists and former government employees pushing their business interests to members of Congress who have taken contributions from them. Now, pay attention to this. While Biden has touted strict ethics rules that attempt to thwart the influence of lobbyists on the administration, several of his earliest appointees, including Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Secretary of State Antony Blinken, consulted for a private equity firm that emphasized its quote-unquote access, network, and expertise in the defense industry. Austin also had a seat on the United Technologies and Raytheon board, earning more than $250,000 from the now merged companies. Raytheon, okay, let me pause right there for a second. I've got another article here I'm going to bring to you in just a second about the two of them, Austin and Blinken, and just how dirty these two fellows are when it comes to the business of war. You're not going to believe it. So I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but I want you to hear this quote by the CEO of Raytheon, Greg Hayes. He seems optimistic about the company's prospects under the new administration, under the Biden administration, telling investors in January that, quote, peace is not going to break out in the Middle East anytime soon, and that the region, quote, remains an area where we'll continue to see solid growth. Just think on that for 1 second, what this guy's saying. This is a guy who makes things that incinerate living people, that blow up houses full and hospitals full of women and children, that make things that are the mechanisms of war and destruction and bloodshed. And to him, it's just a bottom line. He is happy that peace isn't going to break out anytime soon, and he's seeing positive signs of positive growth in the world, which is meaning they're going to produce more weapons of war, and he sees it as a very positive thing, that there's going to be more war and bloodshed, and that his company has the opportunity to produce those implements. I'm a capitalist. I mean, these are the terms that I speak in when it comes to manufacturers creating things, and we're going to see areas of positive growth when we see advantages in the market. But it's a little bit different when we're talking about the weapons of war that our government and our taxpayer dollars are purchasing for the use and destruction of mankind. I am fully on board with supporting our country, national security. I mean, if we're ever attacked, I want the full might and power of the U.S. military to strike at whoever did it. And I mean, strike hard. And I don't care how many bombs and bullets and missiles and everything else we have to purchase from these companies to do it. Let's do it. But I am not in favor of this international adventurism and getting involved in everybody else's war just so these companies can get rich and get richer. And so our people in Washington can get rich off of it. I am not in favor of that. And it's just there's no way to bring accountability to it because Congress makes all the laws. So how are you going to hold the people responsible that make the laws? The laws that would hold them responsible. It's just not going to happen. All we can do is shine a light on it until they pull the plug on us. So anyway, since back to the article, since 2017, Saudi Arabia has become the second biggest buyer of U.S. arms. Blah blah blah. Saudi Arabia hired a prestigious firm such as Brownstein Hyatt, Squire Patton Boggs, and the BGR Group. Those firms are also top lobbyists for domestic clients, including defense companies. So isn't that lovely? Saudi Arabia hires a lobbying firm on K Street, and it's a lobbying firm that also represents Raytheon and Lockheed and all these other ones. I mean, is that a conflict of interest or what? Not in the eyes of Washington. Not if it brings them more money, it's not. Just 4 of the biggest companies received 90% of promised sales between 2009 and 2019. According to the Center for International Policy, those 4, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, General Dynamics, and Boeing, also happen to make up 4 of the top 5 defense-related companies, spending the most on lobbying, pouring over $10 million each into their policy influence efforts in 2020 alone. In fact, some defense industry lobbyists are also registered foreign agents on behalf of the very same countries that are angling to buy U.S. arms. Are you paying attention to this? This is insane. I mean, these are our representatives. These are our people in our country playing both ends against the middle. You can't believe what you hear on the news. You can't listen to these people. Like I told you before, Kelly Ayotte, I mean, that's just one example. I mean, she's a former powerful senator with connections everywhere, serving on a board of a defense contractor and one of the biggest news companies in the world, News Corp. Controlling all of it, controlling information. It's insane. And let's see, here's some of the names of the lobbying groups in Washington. Squire Patton Boggs represented Saudi Arabia during 2017 for $750,000, the year the country first signed a monumental $110 billion U.S. arms deal. So for a paltry $750,000, they signed a monumental $110 billion U.S. arms deal. In the preceding and following years, they would represent two of the major beneficiaries of those sales, Raytheon and Northrop. That's Squire Patton Boggs, who came out big on that deal. There's another one called Aiken Gump. Aiken Gump now represents both Raytheon and the UAE, United Arab Emirates. Among the sales under review by the Biden administration are a $10 billion sale to UAE, partially consisting of Raytheon missiles and munitions. Okay, and then there's American Defense International, ADI. Among ADI's clients are well-known defense manufacturers such as General Dynamics, Raytheon, and L3 Harris. But over the last 10 years, ADI's biggest client has been General Atomics, a leading manufacturer of drone systems. At the same time, they also represent one of the biggest buyers of U.S. arms. Starting in 2018, ADI began representing the UAE for work on, quote, legislative and related policy matters on the topics of engagement in Yemen, military sales from the United States, and relationship with the United States. Soon after, ADI began lobbying to unfreeze weapon sales to the UAE, a move that could potentially benefit weapons manufacturers and foreign clients alike. Okay? They're playing both sides. The top defense contractors by arms sales. Lockheed Martin, number one. Okay, get this. They spent $13 million in lobbying in 2019. That's not a small amount of money, right? $13 million. Out of that $13 million, the arms sales that Lockheed was able to generate, $53.2 billion with a B. Okay, you spend $13 million, you get $53.2. That's not too bad. Not a bad haul at all. Boeing's number two. They spent about $13 million in lobbying. And they came out with $33.6 billion in sales. Northrop, they spent about $13 million lobbying. They came out with $29 billion in arms sales. Raytheon spent only $4 million in lobbying. They came out with $25 billion in arms sales. General Dynamics only spent $10 million, came out with about $25 billion in arms sales. Is this not crazy? This is the power of money in Washington. It's all about the dollar, the almighty dollar, folks. These people have purchased our government and our politicians, and they're dangling those dollars in front of them, and they're giving them whatever they want to get more of that money. Back to the article. In addition to spending millions, the defense industry makes use of one of the most well-connected lobbying corps in Washington, D.C. 73% of the 663 lobbyists employed by defense companies in 2020 formerly worked for the federal government. Why aren't there laws protecting the American people from this kind of incestuous nonsense? I don't know. I can tell you why, though, because it's the people in Congress that would have to make those laws that are benefiting, just like I said before. Okay, we're going to get to some names here in Congress. But the relationship between the industry and the Pentagon is only part of the story. The House and Senate Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committees and the Defense Appropriations Subcommittees examined here have seen at least 250 people pass through on their way to the private sector or vice versa in the last 30 years, a quarter of whom were officially registered lobbyists for defense companies or trade groups. Even more striking are the numbers for the staff of committee members. Nearly 530 people have worked for both a member of one of the 6 main defense-related committees and as a lobbyist for defense companies. Some staffers straddle both groups, working for both the committee and a member of the committee, not infrequently at the same time. It's a revolving door. They go to Congress, they get involved there, make a bunch of connections, meddle in public affairs, spend our money, and then go work for the defense contractors, and now they know everybody in Washington, and they angle to get more of our tax dollars that way. Among the top defense contribution recipients over the last 20 years, the last 3 chairmen of the House Armed Services are all represented in the top 8. Current chairman Adam Smith, Democrat from Washington, raised $1.9 million, while a member of the committee and predecessors Buck McKean of California and Mac Thornberry of Texas, both Republicans, raised $1.8 million and $2.1 million respectively. McKean is now a lobbyist, imagine that, working on behalf of both Saudi Arabia and major defense contractors. Again, no laws. There's no laws protecting or preventing that conflict of interest. Only Senator Richard Shelby of Alabama, Republican, who chaired the powerful Appropriations Committee and its Defense Subcommittee for the last 3 years, outraised Thornberry, raking in over $3.5 million since 2001. Unbelievable. Contributions to the members of most defense-related committees from the industries they fund and regulate tend to favor Republicans, with 54% going to fund GOP candidates and their leadership PACs. But there is no reluctance to fund key allies in Congress, including Democrats. 6 of the top 10 recipients of defense money are Democrats, several of them having served on the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee. Among those are Representatives John Murtha of Pennsylvania, Jim Moran of Virginia, and Pete Visclosky of Indiana, all one-time members of the House Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, and all whom raised more than $1.9 million from defense contractors looking to get a piece of the American taxpayer pie with these Pentagon contracts. And all of which do nobody any good in that world unless there's war. This is what I'm telling you. It's all to get us into more war, because that is what is so profitable for them. Now, I told you I wanted to bring you this other article. And I can't, where did I get this article? I think it was off of opensecrets.org as well. Article by Carl Evers Hillstrom. It's the Biden cabinet picks worked alongside influential lobbyists at private equity firm. This is the article about Lloyd Austin and Antony Blinken. 2 of President-elect Joe Biden's cabinet nominees worked alongside top Washington lobbyists at a private equity firm that touted its access, network, and expertise in the defense industry. Retired General Lloyd Austin, Biden's pick for Secretary of Defense, and Antony Blinken, his choice to lead the State Department, worked as DC partners for Pine Island Capital Partners, an investment firm specializing in defense companies. Imagine that. They advised the firm alongside several influential lawmakers turned lobbyists, including former Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle and former House Majority Leader Dick Gephardt, each of whom run their own lobbying firms that attract foreign and domestic clients. Why don't we have laws preventing this? I mean, these could be our enemies. Places like Saudi Arabia, who are our allies now, could be our enemies tomorrow, and we are so deeply intertwined with them, with defense and with money and with everything else. Their work for the firm raises questions about just what kind of access they provided and how their work in the Biden administration could benefit its wealthy investors. Founded in 2018 by former executives of major corporations, Pine Island Capital Partners made no secret about its strategy of hiring advisors with extensive knowledge of Washington's inner workings. In a September filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the firm touted its, quote, unusual access to information. We believe that with our access, network, and expertise, we are well suited to take advantage of the current and future opportunities present in the aerospace, defense, and government services industries, the firm stated in the SEC filing. I mean, they're proud of it. They're proud of the fact that they attract Washington insiders to come work for them and then bring them critical information about how to get more of our money in their pockets and about when the next wars are going to be, so who to invest in what and buy which missiles and bombs. And everybody gets rich. Now, here's a key part. Biden has come under pressure from activist groups to keep corporate lobbyists out of his cabinet. And while Austin and Blinken never registered as lobbyists after leaving government, they advised powerful firms that could benefit from their experience and connections. Austin served as commander of the U.S. Central Command for 3 years before retiring in 2016. From there, he joined the boards of several powerful companies, including defense contractor United Technologies. When industry giant Raytheon acquired United Technologies, it kept Austin on its board. He earned 7 figures from the two companies in 4 years. Blinken served as Deputy Secretary of State and Deputy National Security Advisor in the Obama administration. After the 2016 election, he launched a consulting firm called West Exec Advisors alongside other Obama administration officials, including Michelle Florini, who also advised Pine Island Capital Partners. The secretive firm advised corporate clients on how to deal with the government, particularly how they could navigate the Pentagon. But none of its activity is reported in lobbying filings. That way, the firm kept its full list of clients secret, and Blinken could bypass the Biden transition's rule against hiring individuals who lobbied in the past year. Did you hear that? Folks, they don't even care anymore. It's just about getting rich. Yet at Pine Island Capital Partners, Blinken advised the firm alongside several high-profile lobbyists. Both Daschle and Gephardt have their own lobbying firms that worked with foreign governments and powerful corporations. Through 2019, Daschle's firm lobbied the federal government on behalf of Turkey, which at the same time sought approval to buy large amounts of weapons from U.S. contractors. Among the top clients at Gephardt's lobbying firm are companies that rely on lucrative government contracts, including Boeing, Huntington, Ingalls Industries, and Core Civic. The number of registered lobbyists dropped over the last 15 years, even as lobbying spending increased. I wonder how that happened. Let's find out. Former administration officials and members of Congress are increasingly joining lobbying firms as, quote, strategic advisors or, quote, consultants, and say they don't have to register as lobbyists. Oh, that's interesting. It's all about semantics. If they have a title like strategic advisor or consultant, then they're not a lobbyist, even though that's what they're doing is lobbying. So they don't have to register as lobbyists, and we don't have to find out about any of this. This explosion of shadow lobbying is made possible by weak lobbying laws and a total lack of enforcement, because it's the fox guarding the henhouse. By refusing to register as a lobbyist, former government officials could bypass restrictions against registered lobbyists enacted by current or future administrations. However, by failing to register, they leave the public without full knowledge of their corporate clients and how their ties to those firms could influence their future government service. Biden's transition team told the New York Times that Blinken and other West Exec or Pine Island employees would leave their firms and disclose their corporate clients if confirmed. However, West Exec said not all of its clients would be revealed due to non-disclosure agreements. There you go. I just wanted to paint you a full picture of just how ugly all of this is. It looks like we're going to be in war at some point. The way they're beating the drum, this no-fly zone today, maybe we should, everybody in the media, maybe we should consider this no-fly zone thing. Tomorrow it's going to be, we have to have a no-fly zone. They want us in war so bad they can't stand it, because that's how they make the big dollars. It's not about saving the poor people of Ukraine. That's just a pull on your heartstrings. All these pictures on the media of grandma bleeding and carrying the little baby and running from the bombs. I mean, that's just to get you to get your Pavlovian response of, yes, go to war. Yes, war. Please go to war. That's all they need. They need they can't do it without us. They can't do it without the public support. They got to have us behind them. I don't know. I don't know where the American people are right now. I think most people aren't falling for it yet, but we've seen it before, and this would be World War III. I'm telling you, Putin's crazy, and he's all he's looking for is a reason to get in a war with us and with the West, and we don't need to give him one. We should pray for the people of Ukraine, and we should turn off all Russian oil to America and all Russian natural gas and energy and oil and whatever else to Europe. Turn it off completely. That's where we should start. There shouldn't be any other conversation before that happens about anything. Nothing. No-fly zone, nothing. Turn off the source of the Russian war machine and see what that gets us, because I guarantee you, Putin can't run a military on no money. And he can't have any money without energy, which, Russia's the biggest producer of energy in the entire world. So if you choke out his supply, then that's it. So why aren't we doing that? I'll tell you why we're not doing that, because they want war. They want war. All of this, you hear about the sanctions on the banks and all. It's all just smoke and mirrors, folks. There's so many carve-outs and ways around all these sanctions. They seize some oligarch's yacht. Well, he's got 7 more of them. You know, who cares? It's all smoke and mirrors, and it's all designed to get us in war. I'm telling you. I know I keep repeating myself, but I can't tell you how important this is. They want it so bad they can't stand it. Now, what about our illustrious senators who are invested in stocks in the defense industry? Oh, that's legal? Yeah, that's legal. You could go serve in Congress right now and control the purse strings of the American tax dollar that goes towards defense spending. You can have that power where you decide how much money we spend on defense and which contractors get that money, and then invest in stocks in those contractors at the same time. I cannot even come up in my brain with more of a conflict of interest than that, and yet that is perfectly legal. And they're doing it right now, and they've always done it. And the reason it's legal is because we need them to, it's because they make the laws that would make it illegal. And when are they going to make laws that punish themselves? That's not ever going to happen. It's do as I say, not as I do. I'm not going to read you all the names. Go look it up for yourself. Go look up how many of your elected senators and Congress people are invested in defense industry stocks. It'll blow your mind, but I'm going to tell you a couple of the big names. Dianne Feinstein of California. She's got $650,000 portfolio in Boeing, okay? And she is in Congress controlling, partially, with her power and her vote, controlling how much money is spent on defense. Who else? Let's see. Joe Hoven of North Dakota, $250,000 portfolio with Honeywell. See, first one was a Democrat, second one was a Republican. I'm being fair here, folks. It's not about one party or the other in this issue. They're both dirty. Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, Democrat, $349,000 in Honeywell, United Technologies, Boeing, and Raytheon. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones with around 150,000 portfolio. Just in defense, only in defense. Companies that get contracts from the U.S. government. It's a crazy conflict of interest we should never allow to happen. And if we could elect actual citizen representatives to go to Washington and do what they're supposed to do and then come home, then we could get things like this under control. But we don't. We elect the plastic suit with the biggest smile and the biggest campaign war chest because we're sheep. We're just sheep. We got to start thinking for ourselves, and we got to stop believing what the media tells us. We need to go research it for ourselves. They are so they don't even try to hide a lot of this stuff. You hear about the dark web and all this stuff, the secrets of government. Most of it's right there in front of you. We're just too busy on our iPads and phones and Instagrams and everything else to give a crap about it. We don't look it up. We don't go research it for ourselves. We just take whatever some talking head on the news told us and, all right. And so it's all right there for us to go look up, but we don't do it. And the few of us that do make up such a small fraction, it's easy to write us off as conspiracy theorists or whatever, even though it's completely, it's fact. It's backed up with fact. So I just urge everybody to please don't take anything you hear for fact. Not even me talking right now. Don't believe me. Go look it up for yourself. And if I'm wrong on any of this, I beg you to tell me. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be incorrect. Send me an email, benmccoyshow@gmail.com. I'd like to hear from you anyway, see what you think. But if any of this is incorrect, please let me know. I'm on Twitter @BenMcCoyShow. And I'd like to hear what you think anyway. I'd like to get some feedback from my audience. But let's see, what else do we got to talk about today? I think that's about it, folks. We're going to wrap it up. I just wanted to bring you some of that stuff and let you know that everything you're hearing is all for a reason. All of this march towards war, it's not to go liberate and save the poor people of Ukraine. It's to make your local congressman and senator richer and to make these defense contractors that run everything, crank up the production on missiles and bombs and get them to be richer, so that the elected representatives that we have in Congress can then go work for those companies and lobby and serve on their boards and get richer still. and the revolving door can continue, and we got to put a stop to it. It's ridiculous. We've got to put a stop to it. Well, I appreciate you tuning in today, folks. Loved having you on board. And please, again, send me an email, Ben McCoy Show, benmccoyshow@gmail.com, or look me up on Twitter and at Ben McCoy Show, and let me know what you think. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about, or anything else, any ideas you have. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. Glad to have you on board. See you next time. God bless.